Hey there, YouTube, and what are you all doing? I hope you all are doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic here. It's been a long time since I have reviewed anything on the computer channel. And as you can tell by the title from this videos, today I'm going to review The Adventures of Blake and Mortimer. So, the first things first, Blake and Mortimer is a European comic book, similar to Tintin comic book. And I got interested in Blake and Mortimer because of the drawing quality that resembles Hergé's Tintin comic book drawing qualities. But the problem is, right now, I still can't figure out who's Blake and who's Mortimer, and who's Blake and who's Mortimer. That's a big problem for this comic book. I'm not here to praise a comic book just because it has good artwork and a pretty good storyline. I'm here to criticize this comic book, which is a comparison to The Adventures of Tintin. So here it is. So most of you watching right now must be a big Tintin fan, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. So in any Tintin comic book, you guys would know who the character is. Like, for example, Tintin. This is Tintin. So once you go inside and start reading the comic book, you know exactly where your character is, the main character, Tintin, because he is so different from the other characters, right? His drawing, his features, his face, his hair, the famous Tintin hair. You can tell where Tintin is exactly in which panel, right? And you can follow the story very easily in any Tintin comic book. And Tintin is just one Tintin. This is Haddock and this is Professor Calculus, but that doesn't matter. The main character is what matters. And his dog Snowy, right? So, unfortunately, in this comic book, once you turn the pages, you have absolutely no idea where your main characters are. Blake or Mortimer, or Blake or Mortimer. Vice versa. You don't know, like, is this Blake? Is this Mortimer? Okay, so you can tell by the beard, okay, this is maybe Blake or Mortimer, or whatever, and this is Mortimer, and this is Blake, right? So that's the problem, and you keep turning the pages, you can't tell where the characters are at what point. Like in this scene, for example, you know, the characters are so much alike, you'd have no idea whether Blake is there with Mortimer or whether Mortimer is there with Blake. Like, he could be there, like that could be Mortimer, right? He's sitting, so you can't actually tell what's going on in this comic book. So that's a big drawback, and the reason why Blake and Mortimer is not as famous around the world as Tintin comic books or Tintin's adventures. The other thing I have a big complain about is, you see the fonts, this font, you know, I'm in my mid-40s and these fonts, even with my reading glasses, is very hard to read. This is a very poor choice of fonts. This comic book has a very poor choice of fonts, and it's not engaging. This font is not engaging at all. Tintin had a problem with fonts, like the classic Tintins have a very prominent font, and they changed to this new fonts that I don't like at all, and I made a video about it. You can go and check it out. I'll put a link over here. Well, they changed it, but this is still readable. This is still, you know, it's easy to read once I have my glasses on. It's not that bad. But for Blake and Mortimer, or Mortimer or Blake, this is very hard for me to read and follow. And like I said, where is our character in this entire page? Is this Mortimer or Blake? Who is this? Or is this Mortimer or Blake? Where is our character? It's like finding Waldo. This comic book, this entire series, the panels are drawn very, very well. The art quality is superb, even better in some places than Tintin comic book. The art is completely different in comparison to Tintin comic art, but they messed it up with the characters. You know, the characters are not that engaging, and it's very, very hard to find where the characters are on the pages. Is this Blake? Is he on disguise or something? Did he color his hair or something? Like, it's very, very hard. Or Mortimer, whoever that is, you guys can figure it out. So that's a big, big problem for me for this comic book. Even though the artwork is superb, and I have ordered this very first Blake and Mortimer adventure, 8 Hours in Berlin, on Amazon. I just received it yesterday, and I haven't finished it yet, but I really wanted to highlight the problems that this comic book was giving me even before starting to like the adventure series. And one thing I could recommend is I actually got interested in Blake and Mortimer because I was browsing on YouTube, and then suddenly I found out that they have this animation series for this comic book, which is on YouTube for free, and you can watch it for free. And the animation, they nailed it. The animation is superb. It's better than Tintin cartoons or animations. They really, really did a superb job in the animation. You guys better go and check it out. It's really, really good. And if you don't find this comic book to be as friendly as you want, then you can actually watch the cartoon, which is easier to follow and much more entertaining. But it does take out the experience of reading a comic book. So it's up to you guys whether you want to buy Blake and Mortimer, which is actually pretty expensive compared to Tintin comic book. Like Tintin comic book, you can still find it for like, you know, like over here it's £10.99. In US dollar, it would be like $13 something cents. But for Blake and Mortimer, these are very, very expensive. I don't know why. These are like $30, $40, $50 online. I'm not sure why they're so expensive. Maybe they're very, very rare and it's not as popular as Tintin comic book, but they're very, very expensive. So I would recommend go watch the Blake and Mortimer animations on YouTube, and you decide whether you want to actually buy the comic book and read it, or you want to watch the animation series and enjoy yet another Tintin type adventure cartoon. All right. So stay cool, everybody, and stay fantastic. Oh yeah.